They say some rooms swallow you whole, you know what I mean? The moment you step inside, it's like the air itself is waiting to decide if you belong or if you're just part of the furniture. That's how it was for Marlene the night she first entered the Whitmore Club. She didn't just walk in. It was like she got absorbed, folded right into the polished wood, the mirrored glass, the hum of moneyed conversation. She wore the uniform they gave her: black slacks, oversized vest, plain white shirt, but the truth is, no uniform ever fit the shape of her silence. She'd learned by now how to be invisible on purpose, a shadow stitched into routine, there to serve but never truly seen. Still, sometimes a person carries a weight in their eyes, a rhythm in their stillness, something unspoken bracing their spine. Maybe you notice, maybe you don't, but if you don't, well, that's your first mistake. Whitmore was a fortress of privilege. Brick walls, creeping ivy, security cameras, the whole place built to keep discomfort out. Marlene stepped in the staff entrance, her hands cold despite the spring air, her name tag blank because, as the manager told her, "We write it by hand after you prove you're worth remembering." Nobody greeted her. She changed in silence, smoothing her hair, tucking in the pain that came from knowing you're only ever a guest in someone else's story. She'd promised herself, years ago, after her father died, never to wear another uniform, but the world doesn't care about promises. It just keeps moving. By 6, the dining room shimmered under crystal chandeliers, every table set with the kind of precision that makes you afraid to breathe. The staff moved like dancers in a waltz, all subtle cues and silent nods. Marlene got paired with Matthew, the oldest waiter, gruff but steady. "Serve from the left, clear from the right. Don't ever contradict a guest," he said. "Especially not tonight, Barrett Langford's coming." The name carried weight. Marlene didn't need to ask. She'd met his kind before entitlement with a whiff of cruelty, the aftershave of men who never had earned their laughter. Barrett arrived at 6:10, flanked by suits and a bored-looking woman, his voice already claiming more space than he needed. Marlene was sent to his table, Matthew whispering, "Consider it a test." Her first task was simple water, menus, a script about truffle foam. But Barrett, he wasn't interested in menus. He wanted a show. He made a game out of her name, stretched it out, asked if she'd ever considered something easier to pronounce. His friends chuckled. Marlene's face stayed neutral. Over the hour, the game escalated, finding small flaws, making her the punchline. At one point, he pulled out a spoon, asked for a clean one, claimed fingerprints. She knew it was planted. He pushed, and the table laughed. Marlene, inside, just burned colder. It went on, jokes about her training, sly remarks about where she came from, even asking if her people used rosemary. He asked if she could sing. When she didn't answer, he wanted to know if she could dance, or at least smile. She gave him nothing, not out of defiance, but because sometimes the only power you have is not giving away what's left. "The world's too sensitive now," he sighed. The other staff knew better than to intervene. This was the way of things. Fighting back wasn't brave, it was expensive. The next night, Barrett was back, more relaxed, as if the room belonged to him. He called her over, performed another little scene, spilled red wine, forced her to kneel and scrub the floor while he made jokes about character building. He reached for her hand, examined her calluses, compared her to field workers in Georgia, said it made him feel connected to the land. She said nothing, pulled away. Later, he challenged her to balance a tray on her head for a 20, claimed it was a cultural skill. The room watched. Even the manager shrugged. Marlene did. It walked the length of the dining room, every step measured, every nerve on fire, applause low and mocking. She set the tray down and left. Matthew gave her a look full of apology, but apologies don't pay rent. And, the thing about humiliation is it's rarely loud. It works slow, methodical, like water seeping through stone. Marlene rode the bus home that night, feeling every layer of herself stripped away, not in a flash, but in the quiet way wind peels paint from old wood. She remembered her father, remembered music in the kitchen, jazz notes floating above unpaid bills. That memory wasn't defiant, just a pressure building behind her restraint, a storm gathering, patient. Another night, Barrett tried something new. This time, he asked her to sit beside him at the table, said it'd be fun. The table laughed, the woman scooted over. Marlene sat, not because she wanted to, but because refusal would cost her more than she had left to give. Barrett called her the evening's entertainment, asked if she could sing, dance, perform. His friends started humming, snapping fingers, offering double tips. Marlene stood, walked away, finished her shift in silence, the weight behind her eyes growing heavier. Later, he tried to soften, said he was just lifting her up. She nodded, not in agreement, but to survive. Then came the piano. Barrett noticed it. Dusty, ignorita, joke waiting to happen. He asked if she could play. He didn't ask politely. Someone with your background must be musically inclined. He grinned. The room watched. Marlene walked to the piano, hand steady, sat on the bench, let the silence stretch. And then she played not a happy tune, but a sharp, discordant melody, something ancient, aching. The room stilled. Barrett's smirk faltered. The music didn't resolve, didn't comfort it, demanded attention. Marlene finished and walked away, leaving the silence to echo what words never could. That night, whispers began. Someone recognized the Songal lost composition from Horace Westbrook, a black pianist erased by scandal and theft. The name drifted through the club, reached the management, the staff. Barrett, for the first time, lost control. He called Marlene aside, demanded answers, accused her of using the piano as a weapon. She replied, clear and cold. She never asked him for anything, did what he did because he could. That truth, plain and unadorned, undid him more than any accusation. Within days, word spread. A former music critic wrote about her performance, called it an echo of genius buried by history. Comments surfaced online about how Barrett's family acquired Westbrook's music through coercion. Journalists dug up records. Investors pulled out. The club shifted staff, eyed Marlene with respect. The piano tuned weakly. Barrett came in, tried to reclaim his stage, only to learn she'd been invited to speak at a symposium, named publicly as Westbrook's daughter. Barrett's legacy began to unravel, not with scandal, but with the truth that moved slow, relentless, and left no room for denial. At the symposium, Marlene spoke for the first time, not as a performer, not in uniform, but as herself. She told them about her father not as a martyr, but as a man who just wanted to be heard. She said his music was stolen, his name erased, but she played to end the silence, not to win back what was lost. Barrett sat in the back, anonymous, carrying the weight of clarity. Afterward, he left a letter with the foundation, confessing to everything: his father's theft, the years of erasure, the intention to release all rights back to the Westbrook family. No statement, no spectacle, just truth at last. Marlene didn't seek revenge. She didn't need headlines. She reclaimed her name with music, restored dignity not just for herself, but for every voice that had been silenced. In the end, Barrett's legacy wasn't destroyed, it was rewritten, not by outrage, but by the presence of someone who refused to vanish. The piano, once a stage for cruelty, became an altar for memory. And you know, that's the thing, sometimes justice isn't loud or vengeful. Sometimes it's just someone refusing to disappear, insisting on being heard. What do you think? Did Marlene's quiet resistance do more than any confrontation could? How do you see the line between justice and dignity in stories like this? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what it means to truly listen and whose stories deserve to be told. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. I want to hear your voice because every comment, every perspective helps rewrite what history leaves behind.